We're going to talk today about Hong Kong. And I don't know how many of you here have been to Hong Kong. Anyone who's been to Hong Kong? Yeah, that's about half of you. That's good to see. For the rest of you, hopefully you can learn something about Hong Kong. We're here to talk about Hong Kong's innovation ecosystem for AI scale-up. So my name's Mark Headley. I'm the Deputy Head of Investment Promotion at Invest Hong Kong. Invest Hong Kong is a government department in Hong Kong responsible for promoting Hong Kong and attracting businesses from overseas to come and set up, to use Hong Kong as a launch pad for the Asia Pacific region, for companies that are maybe looking at China as a market opportunity. So I spent most of the noughties living in the Greater China region. I spent 7 or 8 years sort of living and traveling in China and Hong Kong. And then also spent 10 years as the innovation lead at the China-Britain Business Council. So the session sort of divided into two halves. So for the first session, I'm going to talk a little bit about the ecosystem in Hong Kong, some of the opportunities for AI and tech companies in general, how to go about accessing the market. And then we have a fireside chat. We're going to do a one-to-one session with a company called Guildhawk, which is a AI scale-up company that's recently set up in Hong Kong. So Jürgen's going to share her experience of the Hong Kong market and some of the opportunities that their business is finding in the market. And hopefully we'll have a bit of time for some Q&A at the end. So just to start, really, I mean, why do we think that Hong Kong is maybe I can stand over here, it's a bit easier to see. Why is Hong Kong such a great place for tech companies to base themselves? I think one of the most important things about Hong Kong is its physical location, actually. I mean, it is very strategically located at the center, at the heart of the Asia Pacific region. So you are 4 hours away from most of, all of Asia's key markets, whether that's Japan, mainland China, Vietnam. You're 5 hours away from half the world's population. So it has fantastic transport infrastructure. It's one of the best connected cities in the world. It's a great jumping off point for all those markets. So it's a fantastic place to be based. I think the other thing, and for those that have been in Hong Kong, that have spent time living there or traveling there, it's just an incredibly international and vibrant city. You know, similar to London in a way. It's a real melting pot of cultures, people from around the world coming to live and work in Hong Kong. Hong Kong itself is not a huge market. 7.4 million people live in Hong Kong. A relatively small market, you know, smaller than London in many respects. But it's that concentration of talent and businesses that really make Hong Kong a very vibrant place to be based. So I think whichever industry sector you're working in, there's likely to be opportunities in the market. And I think the other thing about Hong Kong is that you know, we have one country, two systems. So although Hong Kong is part of Greater China, it has its own constitution. It has the basic law, and the business landscape is very open. We have low tax. We have a very supportive government. There's fantastic talent pools there, and it's an English-speaking place as well. So unlike some markets in Asia, you know, thinking about, you know, if you're going to Tokyo or you're going to Beijing, you know, quite difficult to do business there if you don't speak the local language. Hong Kong, you can get off the plane, start communicating with clients and partners. So it's a really good bridge and stepping stone into the wider Asia Pacific region. I think also for tech companies, another huge opportunity is this thing called the Greater Bay. I mean, I've heard a lot of people talking about the Bay, and normally they talk about San Francisco. And not often do we hear about the Greater Bay in China, but actually in terms of global innovation clusters, The Greater Bay Area is second only to the Tokyo-Yokohama region in terms of the level of innovation. So it's the Greater Bay encompasses the Guangdong region of China, which is home to 86 million people. That's greater than the UK, Italy, and South Africa combined, so it's a huge population. GDP equivalent to Australia and Spain. And what we're finding is that we have fantastic connectivity between the provinces and the 11 cities of the Greater Bay region. Shenzhen is, people may be familiar with Shenzhen, is kind of really China's Silicon Valley. It's where it's where many global tech companies have their operations, have their supply chains, the manufacturing hub. Many of China's leading tech companies, like Tencent and so on, are based, and Huawei are based in Shenzhen. And from Hong Kong Island to Shenzhen, it's now roughly a 20 to 30 minute train ride. So basing yourself in Hong Kong gives you access to that wider market opportunity. And of course, in the AI space, what we're seeing is as China digitizes, as it moves towards digital transformation, more and more sectors on the mainland adopting new technologies into different industries. So lots of opportunity there. Hong Kong government really is prioritizing innovation, technology and innovation. So in recent years, it's invested roughly 15 billion pounds in technology and innovation. That's included investing into R&D facilities, the Hong Kong Science Park, funds that have been set up to invest into startups and scale-ups to fund academic research, including in AI, robotics, other key strategic areas like healthcare and life sciences. So there's a real concentration of expertise, talent, and technology infrastructure in Hong Kong that as a foreign investor, you can tap into and really leverage to grow your business. So just last year, Hong Kong announced the setting up of a new $30 billion co-investment fund where the Hong Kong government is now beginning to invest into technology scale-up businesses in strategic areas. So particularly if you're a later stage company, Hong Kong is a great place to really access some support from government to grow your business. Another key thing, I was just talking to Jürgen about this a moment ago, talent is absolutely vital. And Hong Kong actually has, for a country of relatively small scale, some of the best world-leading universities in Asia, including the University of Hong Kong, the Chinese University of Hong Kong, and others. All 5 of these universities are in the top 100 list of global universities. So in terms of talent, particularly around data science, programming, and so on, Hong Kong has vast reserves of talent. And actually, the UK is Hong Kong students studying in the UK is actually one of the biggest groups of overseas students alongside mainland China coming here to the UK universities. So over 20,000 postgraduate students from Hong Kong each year come to British universities to study, which means that many of those people do go back and they're looking for opportunities, businesses to go and work in. The Hong Kong government has also announced a talent visa scheme to attract the best and the brightest from around the world to come back to Hong Kong to work for businesses, to set up and to become entrepreneurs. I'd also say that Hong Kong has a very vibrant startup ecosystem. If we go back probably 5 or 6 years even, this wasn't the case. You can see from the annual startup survey that we carry out just how rapid that growth has been in terms of the number of tech startups in Hong Kong. And Also the incubators, the co-working spaces, the accelerators that are there in Hong Kong to fuel that growth. So we've really seen double-digit growth in the number of startups out there, and actually a relatively high proportion of them are from overseas. So as I say, it's a very international ecosystem. Now, when we're carrying out this survey, we actually classify mainland China as a inward investor. So that's why see a Chinese flag on there. But if you ignore China, you'll actually see that the UK is the second biggest source of founders, startups in Hong Kong. Now, there's obvious reasons for that. English language is one. The heritage and the history that we have in Hong Kong, it's a very easy, comfortable place for British entrepreneurs to go and to do business with. But when I'm on the ground talking to companies here, this conference and so on, we talk about have you looked at Hong Kong? A lot of businesses, I think, there is a natural tendency to focus on the US as a market that feels quite comfortable, English speaking, a lot of cultural familiarity there. But I think Hong Kong actually ticks a lot of those boxes as well. In terms of when you go there, you would feel quite comfortable as a Brit operating and living in Hong Kong. So that's probably a reason why that we see that. But we'd like to see more. So hopefully you can think about it. In terms of the sectors, it's a fairly broad spread. What I would say is that because Hong Kong is a very important financial center with many global financial institutions and Chinese banks, insurance companies, etc. There's a huge market for fintech. So a lot of the AI scale-ups that we see are in the fintech area. Hong Kong's also been introducing some of the most innovative legislation around things like crypto and digital assets. So we're seeing more of these type of businesses come to set up in Hong Kong due to the flexibility of the regulatory regime. But other areas, obviously, Hong Kong is a big trading hub for retail and e-commerce in and out of China. It's a huge market. Education, healthcare. China and Hong Kong has a rapidly aging population, a real aging society. So there's huge opportunities in that area as well in terms of deploying data analytics, image processing, and so on into the as that demand for services to support the elderly population. But I think right across the board, we see opportunities. And I think just as a whole, thinking about the size and the scale of that market opportunity, I think I was looking at the stats, and the global market for AI is in the region of around $200 billion US dollars in 2023, I think was the predicted figure. Now, the US dominates that in terms of the scale of the opportunity. But what you see in Asia, China, and Hong Kong is that the market growth is quite incredible. So we're looking at 36% annual growth in Asia Pacific as a whole. In China, you're looking at 20% growth. It's a market, it's by far the largest market in terms of deployment of artificial intelligence. And China still is, although it's considered to be the second most important market for AI development, it's still way behind in terms of deployment. And actually, as China goes through that process of its working age population shrinking, you have massive challenges around productivity, around some of those traditional industries actually maintaining those growth levels with a declining working age population and a talent gap. So AI and database technologies are going to play an increasingly important role for the China market. And Hong Kong, as a proportion of that, probably about 10% of that, but it's still a very exciting market in and of itself. And I think Jürgen will talk a little bit about why they decided to move to Hong Kong and some of the local opportunities in what again is quite a concentrated market. So actually, Hong Kong Island is a relatively small area, and it's relatively easy to connect to the right partners, the right network of investors, and so on to identify opportunities. So yeah, a lot of information on here. I'm not going to go through it all, but the key takeaways are, as I say, where are the opportunities? So fintech, financial services, trade, logistics, and e-commerce, manufacturing to some degree, particularly thinking about the wider Greater Bay area, which is China's manufacturing heartland, and retail and hospitality as well, where we're seeing more deployment of cutting edge AI tech into the marketplace. As I say, there's just a little bit more detail about some of the specific projects that government-funded projects to support the market, setting up supercomputing centers, data technology hubs, and the Hong Kong Science Park. So Hong Kong Science Park is home to about 1,100 companies. It's an incubator hub. It manages various investment funds. If you're going out to Hong Kong, I'd definitely recommend visiting the science park to look at the opportunities to land in there and sort of some of the support that's available through the science park. The other major hub in Hong Kong is Cyberport. So the Hong Kong Science Park is sort of in the north of Hong Kong on the peninsula, the Kowloon Peninsula. Cyberport is on the island, and it's home to a big cohort of AI companies, businesses in cybersecurity, big data, smart cities, etc. So it tends to be more software, creative tech businesses tend to be there, whereas the science park also caters to things like life sciences and is slightly broader. But Cyberport offers a number of different funding mechanisms for businesses to take part in accelerator programs, to access seed funding and to scale up, utilizing the both government support and access to investor networks. If you go on to, we have a separate affiliate organization called Start Me Up, and it lists all of the different incubators, accelerators, and VC funds in Hong Kong. Things like the HK AI Lab, which is a dedicated AI accelerator program. Brink, which is one of the largest accelerator programs in Hong Kong, and many others. So definitely recommend to take a look at that. And funding. So yeah, it's also a great place, particularly as you're getting into the later stages. There's a very vibrant VC community there for supporting the long-term growth of AI startups from overseas. We also work with some investors that are actively looking for opportunities to invest in UK-based companies here as well. So if that's something that you're interested in, do reach out to us. The other thing, just to briefly touch on, is this increased integration between Shenzhen and Hong Kong, or the mainland and Hong Kong. So actually there is a long-term project to develop the northern part of Hong Kong, and it includes the setting up of a dedicated science park, the Shenzhen Hong Kong Cooperation Zone, and this is actually doesn't exist yet, but it will be. We'll actually from next year we'll see the first tenants moving in, and it's a joint project between the mainland and Hong Kong. And the idea is to bring together the best talent, the best innovation from both sides of the border to incubate and work on joint projects to fuel the next stage of the region's growth. These are just some of the UK companies that we've worked with to help them establish in Hong Kong. There are many more. I've just selected a few here. Darktrace, I'm sure people are familiar with, the cybersecurity firm. Make the Dot, which is a fashion tech company. There's Quarker, which is a people management platform, a SaaS platform. Neuron is a smart cities platform that's established itself in Hong Kong as well. And so I think what we find is that really, whichever sector you're looking at, there are likely to be opportunities in Hong Kong for you to scale your business. I mentioned briefly our Start Me Up Hong Kong team. We also organize a annual event, which is called Start Me Up Hong Kong Festival. It's been running for a few years now. It takes place in November. So if you're interested in getting out to Hong Kong, networking, learning more about what's happening in the ecosystem, I would definitely recommend Start Me Up Hong Kong. It's similar to London Tech Week, although it lasts 2 weeks rather than 1 week. So it's a series of different events that take place throughout that sort of 10-day period. Last year we had 20,000 participants. We had delegations and groups coming from around the world. Many of those events are free to attend as well, so it's a great place to come and network, learn more about what's going on. This is the program for this year, so there are events. There's a healthcare innovation summit. We've got a prop tech event, a real estate beyond event. There's a net zero event happening. We've got a 2-day gaming conference. And also we have Alibaba's investor pitching and matchmaking event where they take over Hong Kong Harbour, and you can attend and meet with partners, meet with investors, and all of that is curated on your behalf. If you are interested in coming to Hong Kong, there is actually a trade mission going out from the UK to Hong Kong, organized by a branch of the TLA group. So some of you may have attended the Tech London Advocates event last night with Russ Shaw. Russ is actually going to be heading out to Hong Kong with this mission. They're actually setting up a Tech Hong Kong Advocates. They'll be launching that in Hong Kong that week. The organisers are taking a group from the western part of the UK, so Tech West England Advocates are organising that, but it's open to any company from across the UK. So if you're interested in learning more about that mission, there's an opportunity to participate in some of those events. There's also the British consulate will be hosting a reception, and there's visits to the science park, to Cyberport, lots of meetings with companies and visits to local technology companies. So definitely worth checking out if it's of interest. My contact details are here, although I did make a mistake with my email address. So if you want to follow up, I would suggest to come and grab me afterwards and get my Hong Kong style, get my business card, or add me on LinkedIn, and we can follow up that way. So I think that's the end of my bit, and I think for the next section, I'd like to invite Jürgen Zelensky to come up onto stage, and we're going to have the video next, hopefully. Is it going to happen, or?
Hello. I am the digital human twin of Jürgen Zelensky, founder and owner of Guildhawk. I wanted you to know about our new technology that will disrupt the global language industry. It's called Guy, the first quick and easy platform where your AI translations can be verified by humans.
而我們使用最新的技術，並讓你即時訪問我們由3000名認證語言學家組成的網路。Guildhawk 得到了全球品牌的信任，而新的界平台已準備好擴大規模，就是現在。
To learn more, email the real Jürgen at this address. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, I didn't realize you could speak such good Cantonese.
Full of surprises.
So Jürgen, would you like to just briefly introduce a little bit about yourself and the company and your story, really? Because I know you have a very interesting story as a founder. So it'd be great if you could just share that with us to start with.
It would be a pleasure. Can everybody hear me? Fantastic. Lovely to meet everyone. And you met already my avatar, my twin sister. She is so talented. She speaks about 120 languages and she works 24/7. It's unbelievable. So this is one of our technologies that we are deploying with our clients across the globe. So my avatar is a first generation. Now we have a fourth generation avatars that are out and about. So the company has been going for a while, and we started operating in the language space, working with large language models, oh goodness, in 2003. And now we are, during the pandemic, really pivoted into technology space. And Hong Kong has been an amazing place and so welcoming and really, really allowed us to set our technology there and serve the clients and really doing amazing work now in Southeast Asia.
Okay. So can you tell us a little bit more about the platform, about Guildhawk, about the business, how you help your customers? Maybe just explain obviously you can see the video. It's really, really, really interesting, but maybe you can talk a bit more about that.
So the technology that we launched is a self-service platform now. It's called GAI, G-A-I. And now our clients can log in online and they can do translation and they can do their various kind of document processing on the platform themselves. And it's actually secure, it's safe, that there's no data storage happening anywhere, so the algorithms are running by themselves. So it's an amazing place for organizations when they are looking to localize their products, their services, when they're entering new markets. In addition to that, we have another arm where we are working with our customers, specifically in Hong Kong, where we're doing data processing, analytics, and building specific dashboards for companies, primarily focusing on construction engineering firms.
Yeah.
And where you have a lot of multilingual data, that's where we get called in. So we're a bit of like Ghostbusters in the multilingual data space, where we help organizations to find assets and organize the information. Because what is happening everywhere, I'm sure lots of organizations are experiencing this. We have a lot of knowledge, but the biggest challenge we have to find that key information, and that's what we do. We help the customers to find that key information and turn it into an asset.
Yeah. Okay. So you're sort of mining the data, helping them to understand the data, and then sort of applying AI and data analytics to then make something out of that they can then use in their business processes effectively.
It is.
Yeah.
It is the case, and it's really exciting now because this is just the beginning, and it's amazing to see so many people here today. And artificial intelligence, machine learning. There's a lot of talk about GPT and other versions of it coming out. And this is just the beginning of what technology can do for us. And we need more and more businesses actually in that space, because we started to innovate just now. This is just the beginning, but we need more of this.
Yeah. And so, obviously, I think as a business, you've been around a few years, but I wouldn't call you necessarily a well-established company. You're relatively early stage in terms of your development. It wouldn't seem like the logical place to go sort of from Sheffield to Hong Kong. But what sort of brought that about in the first place?
Via London.
Yeah.
One of we as I mentioned previously, we work globally. We work with international companies, Bloomberg, Shell, other big organizations, and we operate globally, but primarily from the UK base. And we were looking for another operational space where we can actually push our technology more. And the team had quite a bit of time during the downtime when we had a few years ago. So we decided to look at the strategy, analyze where the business is going to go next, because obviously that situation, we knew that it's not going to last forever, it's going to be a while, but we used that calm time to read reports, do analytics, and find where the next opportunities are. And you'll be surprised. So, like, every report we were reading, everything was pointing towards Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
Of course, there's a market for the United States, Europe, depends what business you're in. But from our side of it, in terms of data analytics, we could see, and especially with construction engineering firms, was driving us towards Southeast Asia. So we looked at it. We found that 47% of construction engineering projects will be happening in Southeast Asia. And then, so we need to establish a hub. And we approached several markets, Malaysia, Singapore, Hong Kong, Indonesia, and looking exactly where we can win the first clients, because our strategy was that first we need the contract, and then we follow the contract, and then we establish ourselves. And Hong Kong stood out by miles. I don't know whether it was our luck, maybe the introductions we had, but we came in with a shopping list. Initially, we were helped by Department for Business and Trade, and we approached them with a list of companies that we wanted to talk in Hong Kong. And my goodness, we got to meet the clients, future clients, got to speak to them. Then we got introduced to Invest Hong Kong and British Chambers of Commerce. And one thing, what became very apparent, that this particular area, Hong Kong, Greater Bay Area, is set for business. And the speed was so surprising. So we knew it's going to be a fast pace, but we didn't expect it to be so fast. So we went in for the first time, so established the business in February. We went in for the first time, and so we're going to have a little holiday as well. So we sort of had a couple of days or 3 days just to do that. Guess what? It didn't happen. I still never had a holiday in Hong Kong yet, because I'd love to go and visit some areas, museums, amazing museums there. But it never happened, because we go with a schedule and you need to double it, because you go with about 10 meetings, it will be 20. That's what happens in Hong Kong. And as Mark mentioned in his presentation, it's concentrated space, lots of businesses there, and you can do so much in one day. It's sensational.
Yeah. And I think that's definitely one of the differences certainly with the mainland, is mainland's a very big place, and it's very fragmented, and it's a large, even just traveling from one city to another, takes time, and the business landscape changes. Whereas I suppose with Hong Kong, probably similar to Singapore, it's much more kind of in one place. What do you think? I mean, in terms of kind of developing business in Hong Kong, how does that process work? I mean, we talked to some clients who go to Hong Kong because their client needs them to be in Hong Kong. But in your case, you've taken a far more strategic approach of researching, looking at the opportunities, and then visiting, and then saying, well, this is the right place for us to be. Now that you're there, you've got an entity in Hong Kong. How do you go about building from that? What's the process for growing the business look like?
So, as I mentioned, we established an entity in February, and we're starting a recruitment now. And our intention is to have an operation and employ people. So far, we managed to do it from the UK, but it means that we're traveling, and my co-director traveling quite a lot, and some other team. But moving forward is not sustainable, and we need somebody on the ground, because to be able to really scale the business, it is not just for Christmas. You have to be committed there, and it is worthwhile investing the time. And we found it's not just about the opportunities, but also working with the universities. In the UK, we work with Sheffield Hallam University very, very closely on innovation. So we have very close collaboration, and we'd like to replicate similar relationship in Hong Kong. And Mark, you presented the list of choices, and it's just a matter of choice. And the universities are very, very open to collaborations. But in addition to that, obviously setting up a business when you're not a big conglomerate, you're not sort of like a Google or something like this. So it could be expensive, and also the risk is there. But the risk is in a way helped by having support from organizations like Invest Hong Kong. Truly, really get in touch with Mark, grab that email, grab Mark, really talk to him. He's got lots of connections here in Hong Kong. In addition, with a department for business and trade, as I mentioned, chambers of commerce. But what is important there is also a support talking about innovation and technology park. So we are having conversation now, and that's where we'll start our incubation process. And there is support, grants available. There's an application process they involved, but there's so much help. So you're not left there with a big piece of paper. So there are people assigned to you that will work with you to make sure that your application will stand. So have your interviews with them, have a conversation. They talk about your ambition, and then they guide you. They not just let you be, because it is in their interest to make you succeed. And also having Hong Kong size, what is so appealing, that it's manageable. It's not as vast. You can actually comprehend. As I said, be ready for the speed.
Yeah. And also, I don't know if anyone is here from the Department for Business and Trade, but definitely the team in the consulate in Hong Kong are very supportive as well. So there's the British Chambers of Commerce and those kind of organisations that offer kind of that additional level of support and so on when you're out there. I think one of the things that often we get asked about Hong Kong and China, two things that come up quite a lot. So one is around regulation, particularly around data transfer, data privacy laws, data security. For AI companies, obviously, data is critical to that. So I wonder how much of that a barrier is. And the other thing is intellectual property. Obviously, that's the other question that often comes up. You know, how do we protect our IP in a market that's sort of renowned for IP infringement? I just wondered, are those the biggest challenges for you as a business? How big are those challenges? And if not, what would you say were the main barriers to entry for a company like yours?
So obviously being in technology space and working with data a lot, you have to take these things into consideration, but I still ought to land in a country where we don't have a regulation, where you can do as you wish. So we have, obviously, in Europe, we have GDPR, we have ways of processing data. I could argue, actually, we should have more regulation in technology space, and we don't have enough. And obviously, it's for obvious reasons. And I'm sure we will see more and more regulation entering the space. We cannot just be running free with OpenAI and GPT and God knows where else we'll end up. So we need a regulation in that space. So we consider the aspects. We talk to lawyers, we talk to various experts as well. And you set up an entity which you cater for the environment to make sure that you are operating within that particular regulatory environment and you're not breaching any laws. So, but it's doable, it's manageable, it's not that difficult. And of course, it depends on the business, which area of business you're operating, that could vary. But on our side, we did the research, we talked with the advisors, and that is possible to absolutely operate that. And it becomes not really a problem. So in any market, when you're entering, you have to consider the regulatory environment. And from our side, we didn't really find it very, very taxing. So it was fairly easy to understand how we need to be operating and where the boundaries are.
Yeah. And I think there is quite a lot of good free advice out there actually about these things. You know, there's UK, being UK, has lots of lawyers and accountants and professional service providers that all have offices in Hong Kong. So actually you can go out and talk to all these guys and hoover up their knowledge to really help you to make those decisions. I think we'll probably have some time for questions, but just before we go to Q&A, what does the future hold for you? So, I mean, are you looking at the kind of mainland China market and the GBA as being the area that you would be looking to expand into? Or is it still that Southeast Asia piece, that wider Asia Pacific sort of opportunity? Where do you see the opportunities for your business? Are there particular sectors or areas where you're likely to kind of focus on a little bit more?
So what we found as well, one thing when we were very realistic in terms of our capabilities and what we can do short-term and long-term. And the ambition is to definitely grow our Southeast Asia entity, and the opportunities are there. And we are actually working with quite a few very large construction engineering firms that operate in mainland China. So we will be partnering with them and we will be supporting them, and they will be actually helping us to launch our products into the mainland China. Yeah. So we will be doing it through a partner. Because obviously China is a complex market, is a very big market. We already had a visit to Guangzhou, which we were so inspired. That's another conversation. But there's definitely opportunity to especially having a base in Hong Kong. And if you're looking for opportunities, then you can actually enter mainland China and work through your partners. And what is wonderful with Hong Kong, what we found, is very familiar environment to operate. It's almost like being shifted from the UK into Hong Kong because of the legal framework, or because of the taxation, because of various other aspects. Actually, taxation is very good. But it's actually quite easy to operate, and everything is in English as well. But if you need language help, it's available as well. So we found it very, call it a little bit challenging, but very easy. We did not expect it. We came prepared and almost over-prepared. I think that's what happened in our case, because we do operate in the United States, and United States required quite a bit of preparation and hard work. So we know what entering a new market is like.
Yeah, yeah. And I think people forget as well how large and fragmented US is as a market, yes, working in independent different states and so on. And Hong Kong, I guess, has that more concentrated feel. I think we've got questions. Is there a mic somewhere? We can do some Q&A anywhere. I don't know if there's a mic. Is there a microphone for the audience? I think there was one at the back there. Yeah.
Thanks very much for the presentation. Is this speaker?
We can hear it. We can hear it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's going to, okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. Some of you have been hearing me speak today, earlier, and yesterday. I think I am actually an AI professor at one of the universities that you showed, namely HKUST, just the University of Science and Technology. I'm a founding AI professor from 30 years ago there. And I want to confirm what you guys have said and add to that. The engineering school at HKUST has been ranked #1 in the world, #1 in Hong Kong specifically, for 12 or 13 years in a row. Aside from spinning out the first Google Translate type systems from my lab, also some of you may know in the AI space a company called DJI that owns 70% of the consumer drone market worldwide, also from my colleague in the Robotics Institute. And so I would like to confirm everything that you've heard, and also invite you, if you want to hear any personal experiences about AI in Hong Kong and in the region, I'm also available. Just flag me.
That's great. Thank you.
Definitely we'll pick up on the offer. Count me in.
If anyone has any questions, or just like that, just any comments, insights, personal experiences, feel free to get involved. Oh, there's one. Yeah. Right.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Vidhi. And the question I had is, what are the barriers in terms of language when you have to enter the country, A, as a business, and B, also as a working professional, if you're looking at considering to move to that region?
Yeah. Do you want me to take it?
Yeah, I could mention on my side. So language is of any way you set up where you don't have necessarily the main language as your native language being English, but English is widely spoken in Hong Kong. Yes, you have pockets, depends where you're operating, where English probably may not be prominent, but you have Cantonese, you have Mandarin, you have other dialects. You have it's a international hub, so you have various helps available, and it's just another market. So obviously, I have to take it into consideration, but it's really, we haven't found a problem. So although my avatar speaks all the different languages, I speak 3, but none of them is actually Chinese dialect. So I actually have sometimes professional support from our team, but otherwise that was not a problem for us at all.
Yeah, I would say, just to add to that, so Hong Kong has 2 official languages, Chinese and English. So in Hong Kong, you tend to find that the vast majority of people, apart from taxi drivers, speak fluent English. So you might need just your cards for the taxi driver so that you know where you're going. Obviously, once you go across the border into mainland China, yes, there are a lot of young people in Shenzhen. So actually, people in Shenzhen speak pretty good English. But you move further away from the big cities, or a certain generation getting older generations that didn't learn English when they were younger, then that's more of a challenge. So mainland China, obviously, more difficult to operate unless you have a Mandarin speaker in your team. But generally speaking, Hong Kong, a lot easier. But actually, it's also the cultural differences, I think, that are important. So you have a local team on the ground because they're networked in, they understand the local business culture. They can, understand how to go about things in the right way. It's mainland, certainly it's more difficult, I would say, than Hong Kong in terms of overcoming some of those cultural barriers. I mean, I lived in China for 8 years and I still make loads of mistakes. So, it's difficult when you're moving between cultures. Do we have time for no more? Sorry, unfortunately, because we were running a bit late, we do have to cut it short. But if any other questions, we'd love to have a chat with you afterwards. So
and don't wait. Mark, you talked about all these events. Sign up. Go for those conferences. Really, you just buy a ticket and go, because you will be surprised how quickly things will be happening there. So this is a booming trade center, and there's so many opportunities there, and especially in the technology space. Just sign up for those conferences. Go there and just see it for yourselves. You will not regret.
A brilliant note to end on. So we'll leave it there. Thank you very much. Okay, take care.